welcome back to part 2 of this patch notes for Season 3, Hype Week, Season 3, final day. So let's get back into it. So in part 1 we covered many things, but there are still many things left to cover. Let's dive in, my dudes, and have a look at the Rift Beasts and evolutions. Rift Beasts are powerful boss enemies which have a wide variety of traits and abilities and will evolve as you continue with the primal hunt. Rift Beasts will drop ancient bones, primordial materials, general loot, and will occasionally drop a primordial unique. The chance to drop a primordial unique is increased by the number of evolution it has. Okay, interesting. Upon defeating the Rift Beast at the end of the cave, you will have the ability to choose to evolve this lineage of Rift Beasts or end the lineage altogether. Upon choosing an evolution, all Rift Beasts in the lineage will gain the new trait associated with the evolution, new possible loot, and at least one guaranteed primordial material. Okay. Evolution traits give the Rift Beasts new abilities, which can even include the ability to summon additional enemies. There are over 60 different evolutions to choose from. You cannot select the same evolution more than once each lineage. Oh my god. 60 different evolutions? Bro, that's interesting. Each lineage will start with a max of 4 evolutions, but it can be increased to 7. By fully completing 2 lineages and completing the new Woven Echo Rampant Coast. Okay, interesting. So there is actually a way to kind of like buff the evolution, kind of. Or actually increase it. Interesting. Torn Rifts and Advancing Lineages. Okay. Once the Rift Beast has been evolved, and if you did not end or complete the lineage, you will now encounter Torn Rifts instead of Mysterious Rifts. Using these rifts will cause you to be ambushed by a Rift Beast from your current lineage. Rift Beasts spawn this way will continue to drop the loot associated with their evolutions, as well as general loot. Once you have defeated between 2 to 4 Rift Beasts from Torn Rifts, your next rift will be a Mysterious Rift, which will take you back to the Ancient Era and allow you to once again evolve the Rift Beast or end the lineage. When you end a lineage, a non-primordial unique named Evolution's End will drop. Okay? When you reach the maximum number of evolutions, the next time you defeat a Rift Beast in a cave, you will only be able to end the current lineage and start a new one. Okay. Yeah, so there are some kind of like mechanics we're gonna have to get into with just like how these, Rift Beast mechanic is going to work. So let's move on to the primordial materials, my dudes. Okay, so there are 5 types of primordial materials that can be gained from killing Rift Beasts. Some materials, like crystallized hearts, can only be obtained from a specific activity, like completing a lineage. Okay. But it's like, is the completing the lineage like the same as like getting max in the evolutions? So like when you have max evolution on like a specific beast, like that's gonna count as like a completed lineage? Players can spend primordial materials and ancient bones to buy a number of items from Skarven, including primordial uniques. You will be able to trade with Skarven at the entrance of any cave, after defeating a Rift Beast in a cave. Oh, sorry. hold on. There are actually 3 ways. So you will be able to trade with Skarven at the entrance of any cave, after defeating a Rift Beast in a cave, and in a new zone in the ancient era called the Garden in chapter 10. Okay, so there's going to be 3 ways to actually trade with Skarven. And here we have another picture of these primordial uniques, bro. Bro, they look kind of cool. Like, I have to be honest, they look pretty cool. Primordial items. So there are 2 types of primordial items. Primordial uniques and primordial exalted items. These items are so powerful that you can only have 1 primordial item of any kind equipped at a time. Yes. This means you cannot have 1 primordial unique and a primordial exalted item equipped at the same time, or 2 primordial exalted items, or 2 primordial uniques. Yeah, I see. Okay, there are a total of 25 primordial uniques. 22 of them can be purchased from Skarven, while 3 can only drop from Rift Beasts. Primordial uniques have incredibly transformative effects, which can range from plus level of all skills, gaining super critical hits called Deadly Strikes, allowing you to summon a T-Rex or increase the effectiveness of your idols. Primordial uniques of all kinds can still gain legendary potential and be used in the Eternity Cache. That's interesting. That's really cool. Primordial exalted items are created by crafting with a new Rune of Evolution. Using a Rune of Evolution on an item with at least 1 T7 affix, yeah, will turn it one random T7 to a T8. Yeah, we know this. We know this. Okay. Okay, content updates. Campaign. Architect Lyeth now always drops some cold and lightning resistance shards and rare items with resistance implicits when you first defeat her in the campaign. This is to ensure that players have tools to improve their survivability against Lagon if they need them. Killing campaign Lyeth on repeat occasions will not result in any extra loot. Okay. Okay, interesting. Yeah, this is kind of interesting. The lightning and cold resistance for Lagon, like there's going to be like a guaranteed drop. That's kind of cool. So they have reworked the Keeper's Vault wave fight. Okay, reworked the Ariane, the Ruby Commander quest. Updated the wave fight in the armory to replace the old Ravenous Void form and Abyssal Crawler enemies with the newer Void Grubs and Void Despairs. Nice. Waves spawn slightly more rapidly in the wave fight in the armory. And also updated the Ortraek, the Survivor miniboss, in the Ruined Coast to use a new cultist model and updated his abilities. Interesting. Okay. So here is just like a bunch of a bunch of changes here. Okay, so how much is this gonna be actually? Oh my god. Yeah, bro, there is so much here. Like I'm not gonna get through this in like one go here. Okay, yeah. We're just gonna have to keep going and and see how far we can actually get, my dudes. My goal is that yeah, these like patch notes videos are not gonna be like yeah, over an hour, I was thinking. So the first part was already like is already 1 hour, so yeah. There's gonna be multiples, I think, my dudes. Okay, so Monolith changes. Updated Monolith quest progression to be shared between party members. Anyone in a party will have their quest echoes completed as long as they have enough stability to start that quest echo. Yeah, okay, so they have to have enough stability, right? So you can't like take another player that hasn't, that don't have like the stability that you need to go for the quests. Okay, yeah, I see. Upon completion of the final quest echo, all eligible players will have completed the timeline and also be given a chance to select a blessing. They have also added 3 new woven echoes based around the new Rift Beast. That's cool. Rampant Coast. Slay a rampantly evolved Rift Beast with a crystallized heart to unlock the ability to evolve your own Rift Beast lineage beyond the normal limit. Yeah, so this is cool. This is cool. So this is the specific woven echo that's actually going to give you the ability to increase the lineages. Bloodline Glade. Slay a pack of randomly evolved Rift Beasts champions to retrieve the primordial exalted items they guard, each of which has a primordial champion affix. Okay. Nesting Grove. Protect the Rift Beast's nest to spread Rift Beast encounters to surrounding echoes. Cannot add Rift Beast encounters to Arena Echoes, Woven Echoes, or Cemeteries of the Erased. Only applies to the first attempt at each echo. Okay, that's kind of cool. That's actually a pretty cool one, to be honest. Yeah, that's a really cool one. So you can actually like guarantee, like when completing Woven Echo like this, you can guarantee like that you're gonna get more Rift Beasts. Nice. In you know, the surrounding echoes, that is. Glyph of Envy has been reworked. It no longer unpredictably changes the item to siphon stability to a timeline. Note that the new temporal keystone, detailed below this, can be used to add stability directly to a timeline without crafting. Okay. It now reforges the subtype of an item into another subtype with the same type and class restrictions when adding or upgrading an affix. Okay. A new item has been introduced, named the Temporal Keystone. In the Echo Web UI, there is a button to the bottom right of the stability bar that lists your current number of temporal keystones. If pressed, one will be consumed and the current timeline will be granted 150 to 210 stability. These are stored in the Keys tab of your inventory menu. Okay, this is interesting. So the way that you normally increase your stability is that you complete echoes. So in your specific, like in the specific timeline, I guess, you have to complete a certain amount of echoes to have enough stability to actually do the quests that are associated with that specific timeline. So there are a bunch of those in the end game, right? So you have, I think, like what's the first one, starting at like 58 or something, I think, and it goes all the way up to 90. So you have to complete all these different timelines at the end. But it used to be like the only way you can gain stability was actually completing echoes, but now you can actually gain stability from these temporal keystones. That's interesting. Oh, it also has another effect here. It grants maximum stability if you have never completed the timeline before, and it's not empowered. Okay, so that's kind of important information also. So I guess that means that. So normally you have to go in, right, and you have to build a certain amount of stability, right? I'm pretty sure it's like I can't remember right now, like the earliest ones, like how much stability you're gonna need, like how many echoes you're gonna have to do. But it seems like if you have one of this, you can just straight go for the quests if you haven't actually attempted that, or you haven't completed that timeline. And also if it's not empowered, obviously. So empowered means that you can make like the content even harder, right? Okay. Harbingers now have a bonus chance to drop temporal keystones instead of glyphs of envy. Okay. Okay, so the Harbingers, okay. Yeah, so that's gonna give like a kind of like a way to farm temporal keystones, I guess. So you can farm the Harbingers for like a better chance to get keystones. Okay. The rank 5 Forgotten Knights bonus now grants additional chance for Harbingers to drop temporal keys, yeah, instead of glyphs of Harvey. Glyphs of Envy. Glyphs of Harvey? What? Big green loot lizards now drop temporal keystones in addition to glyphs of Envy. Okay. So that's going to be another way to farm them. So temporal keystones farmable from killing Harbingers, but also big green loot lizards. So there is also added 6 new monolith echo zones. Yeah, so monolith echo zones. Yeah, that's not it's not a timeline, right? That's what they are called, like in the end game. The different, yeah, I guess. Serene Islands, Nightbloom Forest, Mushroom Caves, Crystal Lakes, Sky Garden, and Tidal Sands. Okay, that's the new echo zones. No, okay, so timeline is, I guess, like the level 58 one, the 62 one, the 70, 80, 90, so on, so on. So these are just like echoes, I guess. Increased the area level of most pre-90 timelines in the Monolith of Fate. Okay. Yeah, so I have to get this straight, my dudes. Like the monoliths. Hold on. Okay, let's get this straight. Let's get this straight. Monoliths. Last Epoch. Monolith of Fate. Repeatable endgame. Yeah. Yeah, so it's pretty much... Let's go here. Monolith of Fate is the main endgame system. What the heck? Main endgame system in Last Epoch. Characters can access the Monolith of Fate from the end of time. The Monolith of Fate consists of multiple timelines. Yeah, okay, so there is timelines. Yeah, I'm just getting confused of like all these terms. So there are multiple timelines that you have to complete, like, right? And in the timelines there are a bunch of echoes, right? That's the different maps inside each timeline. Okay. Whatever, my dudes, let's move on. Okay, so the increase is Fall of the Outcast is now level 62. It was 58. Yeah, that was the lowest one, right? I think that was the lowest one. Stolen Lands is now 66. It was 62. Black Sun is now level 70. It was 66. Blood, Frost, and Death is now level 74. Was 70. Ending the Storm is now level 78. It was 75. And Fall of the Empire is now 82. It was 80. Yeah, so I think this is a good change, I think, because I've had a little issues with this in the end game, because you kind of like, you complete the first one, but the next one is such like much of a higher level. So it's kind of like better to kind of like farm the earlier one. And it was like a bit like, I don't know, clunky, like going from one to the next, like, and yeah, yeah. So I think this was a good change, like adding these, like doing these little changes to the levels of the timelines. I think this is a good one. The first Harbinger for the Forgotten Knights quest now always spawn in the first completed level 90 timeline. Previously was the last level completed 90 timeline. Okay. Reduced the spawn rate of tombs. This does not affect the spawn rate of cemeteries. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of logical, right? Because it's not anymore like the, I mean, number one kind of feature in the new season. It kind of like was one of the main features in season 2, but yeah, I mean that just makes sense. Added text that lists the total corruption gain for echo rewards that increase your corruption from more than one source. Okay. Players can no longer take damage from enemies while in Echo of World between Monolith Echoes. Okay. Right-clicking, I didn't even know that was a thing. Right-clicking an quest echo or timeline boss in the top left of the monolith will immediately start it, if able. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool. Portaling between monolith echoes in offline should now be as smooth as it is in online instead of showing a loading screen. Win. Undead hydras can no longer follow the player into a tomb using their burrow ability. Nice. You know what this made me think of? Actually, what this made me think of, one freaking change they need to do in Path of Exile 2 is that when you are doing the freaking, what's it called? Oh my god. The Sekimas, when you're doing the Sekimas and you have like completed the area and you move in to kind of like select your next zone, the monsters are able to follow you all the way in. Bro, I hope they change that in 0.3. Okay, anyway, we have to focus on this, my dudes. I mean, I can't keep bringing up Path of Exile 2 all the time, you know? We have to focus on Last Epoch as well. Okay. Dungeon. Dungeon tier unlocks are now shared between characters that share a stash. In Temporal Sanctum, added an indicator the first time Jorah uses her most powerful attack to remind the player that they can use the Temporal Shift ability. Okay. Dungeon Boss Vote no longer waits on people who have left the run to vote. Okay. Arena. Added a loading screen when a portal is used to proceed to the next arena scene. Okay. Class and skill updates. Okay, bro, now we are getting to the meat and the potatoes, my dudes. Class and skill updates. First, starting off with the minions. You now gain 0.8% minion power per character level. Previous, it was 0.6. This means that at level 100, your minions deal 60% more damage and take 60% less instead of 45 for both. Yeah, this we already know. We already know from like, I think it was it yesterday's? Yesterday's, or the day before? But yeah, anyway, yeah, we've been through this. Minions now also take 60% less damage from dangerous enemy abilities, from 50, yeah. Made improvements to minions' AI, so they behave more intelligently and switch targets less often. And here's a big feature. We have covered this, but let's read it again. Minions can be toggled between Protect and Assassinate modes. The former is similar to current behavior and is on by default, while the latter, which is the Assassinate, allows the minions to stray further from you and stick to higher priority, more distant targets. The default key binding for this is keyboard and mouse. For keyboard and mouse, it's the numeric 2 key. WASD is the 3 key, and controller left on the directional pad. Okay. They have also fixed many common cases of minion snapshotting from items. All minions are now responsive at high movement speed, reducing instances of the minion spinning around and failing to reach its intended destination in a timely fashion. Yeah. I mean, that's a W. Minions will no longer sometimes run back and forth between a potential target and the summoner. Minions, okay, yeah, let's just address that for a second. Big win, okay? Minions no longer use a movement skill to target if that would leave them at a range where they would immediately start running back to the player afterwards. Yeah. Minions run in front of the player towards their destination. Yeah, that's good. Instead of like running freaking like almost on top of us or behind us. Like it should be, yeah, a bit more up front, right? That feels a lot better. On mouse and keyboard, this uses your mouse position. On gamepad and WASD, it picks a position up to 5 meters in front of you along unobstructed walkable area. This means that when using gamepad or WASD, this is only consistent on unobstructed terrain, and they may still lag behind slightly when going around corners, but they won't be as far behind as in 1.2. Yeah. Okay. Others, the nodes in each class which unlock access to dual wielding now grant 8% more damage taken, while dual wielding from 9% and 20% increased attack and cast speed while dual wielding. This change is from no benefit to this. Shrines. The Rip Blood Shrine now casts Rip Blood every second. From every half second. Okay, yeah. I see. So now we go in for like more class specific changes. Sentinel. Passive skills. Void Knight passive tree. Void Well now has a 4-second cooldown from 3. Okay, so a little, like a second more cooldown. Skills, Anomaly. Mark of Rot now increases void damage taken by 30%. Increases void damage taken. From, okay, I don't understand this. Okay, increases void damage taken by 30% from 50. It decreases, right? It's from 50 to 30, right? Okay, never mind. Moving on. Erasing Strike. Shattered Continuity now also grants Erasing Strike 20% less damage. Javelin. Battle Standards grants 300% more hit damage from 300% more damage. Okay. So hit damage instead of damage, I guess. Bit unclear here. Judgment. Urgent Inquisition grants plus 50 mana cost from 40, okay? And now also grants 50% less healing from Consecrated Ground. Previously, I had no effect on healing, okay. Cleansing Light now has a trigger limit of 3 times per 10 seconds. Previously, I had no limit, okay? Smite. Panacea grant Smite's healing a chance to cleanse if Smite was directly cast from any cast. Okay. Symbols of Hope. Invigorate grants 4% increased healing effectiveness per symbol per point from 6%. And Healing Rites grants 30% increased healing effectiveness per point on activation from 40. Okay, so I've not been playing a lot of Sentinel, so I'm not gonna have, or like, I'm not gonna voice any strong opinions on this, to be honest. Rogue. Okay, Rogue passives. Blade Dancer passive tree. Spellbreaker grants 1% parry chance per point from 4% frailty chance. Okay. Now has a 3-point threshold bonus, granting plus 25 frailty chance. Oh, okay, okay. Okay, I see. So you're getting like both the parry and you're getting a lot more frailty if you upgrade it. Critical Eye has a 3-point threshold bonus, granting plus 30% crit strike avoidance. Okay. Crimson Shroud now grants a chance to gain Crimson Shroud when you directly use a melee or throwing attack and hit at least one enemy from only melee attacks. Okay, so now it also affects throwing attacks. Okay. Blood Dance grants 0.5% of damage leached as health for damage over time per point from 10% increased health leech rate. Okay. Cloaked Reaper now also grants plus 7 health per points. Okay. Aerial Assault. Skyward Swoop grants 6% cooldown recovered per point from 10%. When your Falcon hits an enemy and It now has a trigger limit of 10 times per 3 seconds. Previously had no limit. Ah, okay. Yeah. Dancing Strikes now gains increased cooldown recovery speed and more damage equal to 50% of your total increased melee attack speed, from no increased cooldown recovery speed, and more damage equal to 33% of your total increased melee attack speed. Okay, melee attack speed. Okay. Each attack in the sequence now has 150% effectiveness of added damage from 100% or 120% depending on the attack. Okay. Now for the dive bomb, Flock of Crows grants a 34% chance per point from 100% to gain a stack of Dusk Shroud for each Shadow Falcon that hits at least one enemy. Okay, so that's a huge nerf right there. Flock of Crows. Yeah, that's like a third of a chance here. Gaping Wounds now has a max of 4 points from 5. Okay, that's also a small nerf. Midnight Aviary. Aviary? Midnight... I guess it's Aviary, because aviation, right? Grants 1% more damage per point per Umbral Blade on the ground. In the ground. Up to 25% more damage per point. Previously had no limit. Okay. Some nerfs to some rogue skills here. Rapid Pursuit grants 3 mana per point from 4 and 8% traversal skill cooldown recovered per point from 12%. On hitting at least one boss or rare enemy. Yeah. Focus Hunter grants -2 mana cost per point from 4. Okay. Shadow Falcons created by the On Wings of Shadow are now created when the initial dive bomb lands, rather than immediately on use. Okay. Falconry. Hunter's Spoils now have a trigger limit for the hit effect of 10 times per 3 seconds. Previously had no limit. Puncture. Cadence of Death now specifies that it grants increased melee area rather than generic area. This is only a description change. Yeah. Synchronized Strike. Reduced anticipation time by 50%, making it faster to use. Umbral Blades. Edge of Obscurity grants 2% more damage per stack of Dusk Shroud, up to 20 stacks. Previously had no limit on the benefit. It is still doubled while in a smoke bomb though. Max 3 points from 4. Okay. Okay, my dudes, so I think I'm gonna try to keep these videos at around like the 30-minute mark here, my dudes. So I think I'm gonna wrap up this part 2 of the patch notes for Season 3. And yeah, I mean, there is a lot of changes. Like what I'm really hoping for, and what's really important to me is like, how are these changes actually gonna feel? You know, just to like end this part right here. That's like one thing I want to mention, because like one thing is like what all the text says, and you know, like the theory of it. So what I'm interested in, like really interested in, is like, how are these changes actually gonna feel when we play the game, right? That's what I'm thinking right now. But it's okay. So I did not know that these patch notes was gonna turn into like a freaking series of videos, but I really want to go through them all with you guys. So that's just the way it's gonna be. Okay, my dudes. This is Mountain Fairy Tales. You are you. I hope to see you in part 3 of the patch notes. And thank you for watching.